Hi, my name's Annabelle, and I am currently a huge work in progress when it comes to following my intuition, but I carry on nonetheless. And I just wanted to make a video today all about how we tap into our intuition, what it's all about, and where we get to make choices from and decisions if we're using intuition over everything else that comes up, the opinions of others and etc. etc. So, first of all, let's delve into intuition. For me, over the years, I've uncovered that intuition is basically a knowing, an innate knowing that we're connected to. With it, you can't underestimate the belief in there being something greater than us. Otherwise, intuition just kind of, we're talking ego. As soon as we're talking about it all coming from the mind and our decisions and our actions, it's purely about ego. When we look at intuition, it's us looking at a connection to something higher than ourselves, something that has more knowledge and knowing of how things unfold. And so that is how I've moved through my life these past few years of understanding and accepting the concept of there being something that knows more than I do. And it's a tough practice to follow and trust, because as soon as we start to recognize where we're limiting ourselves through our thought process, it becomes very difficult and uncomfortable, because there's an awareness that we might have to let go of control. And the control might be about decisions we're making, about the peoples in our lives, about the situations that are coming up for us. And so, although intuition is a huge, huge subject, and there's so many ways to look at it, I think a great starting point is to maybe consider how we're going to tap into it, and yeah, and what are the other things that we're looking to make decisions, when we actually have the option to always be checking with our intuition to feel what is right. So for those of you who have an intuitive practice, you might know the senses that you feel in your body as a response to it. So sometimes that is, for me anyway, with intuition, it is definitely like um, a warm, freeing feeling. As soon as I hit on the thought that is related to my intuition, I often feel like a space in my body kind of open up, almost like a relaxation. And when I'm in my head about these decisions or choices that I make, it can very quickly go to like, I have like 1,000 voices, and they're all fighting each other, like the pros and the cons of which choice I should make. Because we're always thinking that we know ahead, we know the result. We think, oh, if I do this, then this, and this could happen. If I do this, then this, or this might happen. And it's just that I'm returning to that thought of we don't know everything, we don't know how things unfold. And I'm sure you've experienced this in your life. Um, Say that there was something that, I don't know, somebody persuaded you to go to, or something that you thought, oh, I don't know if I've got the money, I don't know if I've got the time, I don't know if blah, 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 blah. And then you meet the love of your life there or something. Or someone randomly invites you to something and you think, oh, I might as well go, I've got nothing else going on. And an amazing job opportunity pops up, things like that. So intuition won't always lead to some huge, groundbreaking, life changing event happening, but it can. It can, and it can also lead to small shifts and changes in our day. It might pick up our mood. It might be something that is also beneficial for someone else. Like I always put up, when tapping into my intuition, I ask for the highest good, not my highest good. So when I'm acting on my intuition, I'm asking that the situation that I'm involved in is something that will be of benefit for all, rather than just for myself. And I think that's a really key thing. So many people talk about asking for your highest good, If you're able to ask for the highest good of all, that will still benefit you. That is still a benefit of you. But it's just letting go of the ego that we get all our wants met. So often I'll go through what comes up instead of following our intuition. So we might have an intuitive feeling towards, I don't know, a certain way home from work. It might be that this time we decide to go a different route. And logically, it's a longer way. It takes longer. It's not our normal route. It doesn't go past the thing that we like to go past or whatever. But for some reason, on that day, we felt, oh, I could go this way home. Now, you'll notice like the first thing that comes usually is an intuitive thought. Just like, oh, that person's come to mind. I should call that person. Or, yeah, I want to go this certain route home. Then what clicks in is our brain and our logical mind, and it goes, oh, but that doesn't make sense. Like, oh, it doesn't make sense to go this route because it's not the quickest route, or it doesn't make sense to call that friend right now because it's a certain time at this time and they're usually not available, so I won't call them. Then there might also be another aspect of that where we've used the logic that might have talked us out of it, or then we go to the next thing, which is usually fear. And fear is the language of the ego. It is not the language of intuition. Intuition will bring up fear because our ego is like, no, we cannot do that. That is going to put us into our uncomfortable zone. We are going to stick in this zone of comfort, protect ourselves. So fear will speak loudly, and fear will be the ego, and it will come after the intuitive thought, for sure. And that might be in the thing of applying for a job that feels beyond our capabilities, beyond maybe our financial worth. Maybe it's something that is way beyond the normal financial limit that we put ourselves on. So we think, oh no, I couldn't possibly get that. And so we use logic first as a way to talk ourselves out of intuition. Then fear will come up, ego. Sometimes it will just be fear immediately. And then also it could be the opinion of others. So maybe there is this job that we're willing to go through. Maybe there is fear, but we're willing to step through it. But then there's the opinion of somebody else saying that that job isn't really a responsible job, or that job doesn't pay enough, or that job isn't what you've been working towards, so it's not suited to you. And I don't think we can underestimate the influence of other people on us. We cannot discredit, the what is the word? We cannot the influence of like what our parents think. It doesn't matter how old we get. Often what our parents think, what our siblings think, what our colleagues think. These are all things that play into this whole conversation that we have, that just keeps diverting us away from this initial intuitive thought we have. And it really is a place where there are a lot of 12-step programs where they talk about who is your higher power, and recognizing who your higher power is. And then when we're putting the opinions of others above that intuitive knowing, we're making that other person our higher power. I've very much taken that from the 12-step program, that element. So if you want to find out about that, go have a look. But yeah, so there's these are like so many reasons. We're probably still in the thought process at this point. We're still we've just had that intuitive nudge, and we've probably had the next like 2 minutes, 3 minutes just of all the different ways that we can talk ourselves out of it. And that can continue for months, it can continue for years, it can continue a whole lifetime, where we are putting blocks on ourselves and something that we feel we should step forward into purely because there is this overriding thinking that our intuition is lesser than these other things, maybe we don't have a connection with our intuition yet. Maybe it's not something we believe in, maybe it's not something we understand, and maybe most importantly, it's not something that we ever fully tried and tested in. Because I'll be honest, the more that you keep putting yourselves out there to trust in intuition, the more it keeps almost proving itself. It's like a relationship that you're building that you can kind of trust that it keeps showing up for you and keeps coming up for you. And I will not preface, but I will say that all of this is also, there has to be a knowing that sometimes it will not be what we want. Like intuitive thought and thinking will not always be what we want. The ego tells us what we want. The ego says, I want this much money, I want this kind of car, I want this kind of job, I want all these different things. Intuition doesn't do that, especially when you're asking for the highest good. But that does not mean that you don't effectively reach those stages regardless. Woo! It's windy out here. I'm actually in Vietnam filming at a park on a tripod that is, yeah, getting blown away. So I think that the most important thing, if we're trying to start looking at how we can make decisions using our intuition, the first thing has to be to test a couple, try a couple, see how these things work out. And it's not always easiest to do that with something that feels big. So if you are not used to trusting your intuition and acting on things like that, it isn't always simple to have a huge project or a huge work decision or financial decision or anything like that. It's not easy to just go with the intuitive thought and trust in it. I'll accept that. But there is an opportunity throughout the day to check in with what your intuition might be telling you. And you are getting insights from your intuition all the time. We are often counteracting them, blocking them, putting something else before them, but they are coming. They're coming. They might be quiet, they might be subtle, and they often are, because intuition is in no hurry. You might feel that you are, and trust me, ego is, but your intuition is always there, always sitting on the sidelines quietly. So if there's something that you've had for years and years and years and years and years, and it's not enough pressure to make you act on it, but it's enough to cause a discomfort in you of just like, there's that thing I keep saying I'm going to do, or there's that thing that I keep having a feeling about. That could be your intuition. So I encourage you to check in with it. And also, we've got this whole element of self-worth around it. Like, if our self-worth is low, sometimes the things that we are getting shown through intuition feel like they could be our ego. Like, it may be something like, I want to put content out. And that can be something very egoic. But also it can be a nudge from your intuition, and it's asking you to step through fears and boundaries. So I think that when we're looking at these intuitive hits that we're getting, and they are coming daily and frequently, also be aware of like the timing of things, because sometimes like you will have a thought of, go to this supermarket to make to get your groceries this time or whatever. But sometimes we tell ourselves, I won't do it this time, but I'll do it next time. But the intuitive hit isn't telling you this is your new supermarket you should be going to, or grocery store, wherever, whichever country you're in. It's saying right now, in this moment, take yourself to this particular shop at this particular time to do this particular thing. So intuition can also be very timings based, but it won't be in a pressurized way that you'll find with the ego. So the ego will say, no, you've got to do this right now because of this, and this, and this. Intuition is more likely to say, oh, yeah, go to that place. Yeah, go now. And the more that you start to trust in these things, you'll see things unfolding. Like I have really tried to, I won't say dedicate my life, but it's a strong part of my life to be following the intuitive like hits as they come through. And it will mean that sometimes I will have an idea of how the day is going to go, and I'll be on the way to that thing I'm doing, and I'll have a little moment and I'll go, oh, just pop in there, and I'll pop in, and that will be the whole point of my day. That will be the whole point of my day. It will bring up all the things that I was trying to get done on my own power, my own steam, throughout that day, were all resolved because I popped into that place and had a conversation with a person by chance because we were both there at both at the same time, or it resolved a question I had, or things like this. So I wouldn't ever ask anybody to just step fully into intuition. You can, oh my god, if you can, amazing, well done you. But it's a trust process, and it's not the quickest process, but it is possible. So, what's come up for you today, maybe what's come up for you in the last week, when you've just had this inkling of something to do. And if it's something big and you feel capable of doing it, great, go do it. If it's something small, give it a try. Like, what is there to lose? If it's something like go this route home, okay, maybe it costs you 2 minutes because it's a slower route. But really just allow the beginnings of recognizing how intuition could be talking to you, except that it is talking to you, and maybe just see how you can just practice to bring it into daily life. And yeah, that is me for today. I encourage you to go give it a go, because you never know where you're going to end up once you start trusting it. You might end up in a park in Vietnam randomly as a 35-year-old who thought she'd finished traveling. Yeah, give it a go. Let me know what you think. Any questions about intuition, ask me, because I just want to talk about it all the time. Yeah, all the best.